with number 2, the Pledge of Allegiance by Commissioner Thompson.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, does any commissioners have any disclosures or declarations of conflict? And does everybody had a chance to look at the agenda? Do we need to change the order of anything? If not, I'd look for a motion to approve the order of the agenda.
I motion to approve the order of the agenda.
I second it.
Okay, motion in a second, we'll vote.
Aye.
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 Okay, and everybody had a chance to take or to review the minutes of meeting minutes from July 13th and August 10th meeting. Find any issues?
Was Wayne not listed as being present on the July one?
Were you up on the board on this one, or was it just an alternate up on the
We didn't. The 10th of August.
I think he was probably just an alternate. So he doesn't,
I did not get that. I still haven't got that. We're having. Moving on.
That's all you saw?
that's the only thing I saw.
Maybe just check on that portion of it. Okay, we'll look for a motion for them.
So is this the one we tabled July 13th? We tabled it because some of us weren't here, right?
Uh-huh.
So we have
There
to,
wasn't enough.
That's the 10th. That's a special
we
meeting.
can group them together and vote
Yeah,
on
you
them
can
now
still.
then.
We didn't have it.
Okay. Yeah, I did see it in the packet. I motion to approve the minutes from July 13th and August 10th, 2022.
And I second it.
Okay, motion in a second, we'll vote. Green? We'll vote.
I can't vote. Because I don't have the minutes.
Okay, we'll abstain.
I'll abstain.
Aye.
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 Okay, this moves us to the public forum portion of the meeting. If anybody would like to address the commission, please limit your comments to 3 minutes. And please state your name and address. Anybody would like to, and this is for anything that's not on the agenda. Anybody? Gary? Okay, we'll move on to the reports. It's been pretty busy for me on this, but I do want to say one thing during the report item. I want to tell Darren, thank you very much, because I think our planning commission package for all the items today is probably the most complete I think we've ever seen. And it has a lot of really good information and made our lives a lot easier. So I want to tell you thank you very much for that. And that's all I really have. Did any of the commissioner have anything to report?
No, but I agree. I really found it helpful to read his comments.
And Mr. LaVever, do you have anything to report?
As of right now, I'm not with the city, Kevin, on the agenda. I don't think we have any ordinances that are at this point. Any ordinance or changes to ordinances. We're just trying to keep ahead of things. You two have anything?
Okay. We'll move to the business items. Business item F1 is a discussion with Lisa Atkin and Jay Maxwell on a lot line adjustment for property located at 190 West John Lane. This is a possible recommendation to the city council. It's what they're looking for, and I'm going to let Darren kind of present this a little bit.
People say on YouTube they can't hear me. Can you pull up that very last?
Essentially, Lisa Atkin came before us. She came to me and she was proposing to do a lot line adjustment What you're seeing on the map there on the back wall is basically what she had submitted. It shows a couple of different, it shows where the existing water meters are. It shows Gene Wilder's property there, as well as the Pecan Lane that has been dedicated down to almost to the property, the subject property there. And so when this came before me, it didn't comply with code. It doesn't, in my comments, you'll see that it doesn't have dedicated roadway in front of that. And what there to the left, that says T41C, that has another home on it that is owned by Jay Maxwell. So what had happened here, just kind of the history, is the house there that Lisa is wanting to purchase was built first, and then the other home was built. And so the utilities, the water lines, the power, everything was still connected to both homes as if this was a casita or something to that effect. And so when she was purchasing this, she wants to be able to have her own water meter, her own power, everything across that. The concern we've got there is there's a 26-foot, as you see the property or the road next down to a 25-foot wide road in front of the tax ID T47E1 or C1E1. And then the hatched area there is owned by Jay Maxwell as private property. So as per code, and that's just the simple zoning code, it doesn't have frontage on the right of way there. So I don't know. I talked with Lance. He said that the main comes down to where you can see a fire hydrant there on the other side of the street from, I wish I had a pointer, but I don't. There's a fire hydrant across from the water meters. The water meters are kind of there at the end of the full 50-foot wide right of way of Pecan Lane. So it didn't really meet code. So us as staff, we cannot approve this as a lot line adjustment. And so from the way I read the code and I talked with Attorney Snow, is that this would have to go to the appeals authority. And so you can kind of see what the proposal there is to take the back lot line. So could you go to a different exhibit? I think it is, hold on one second. I think it's Atkins Exhibit 1. Yeah. And zoom in there. Essentially, that's the way that the property lays out as today, as per it's recorded at the county recorders. Lisa Atkins owns the big long parcel that's rectangular up there at the top that actually fronts Ash Creek Drive. And so she wants to, so if you see on that last exhibit, she wants to flip and do a lot line adjustment and taking that back lot line and rotating it 90 degrees and creating the parcel. It's not creating any new parcels, but can you flip back, Daisy, to that last one to create this, if that makes sense for the planning commissioners. And so without having proper frontage, I can't approve this as city count or as staff. So it has to come to you guys for either a recommendation for denial of what was proposed lot line adjustment as it says there on the border. And I don't know if you guys have any questions for me, or if the applicant Jay is here, they might want to add something else to what I just said.
The way I read the code is the hatched area right there is not Tokerville City property.
Correct.
We need a 26-foot right of way from the city leading to that, right?
A 50-foot wide right of ways.
Okay, so it's not a flag.
It's not a flag.
If they donated that land to the city or however that works, then they would have the frontage.
Yeah, it would be possible. Yeah.
That the plan would be to donate that.
Here. Just here, Jen, let me give you the mic.
There, I had talked to Gene Wilder, who owns that Lynn Olds, Lower Street. No, 47 South Ash Creek Drive. He owns that little 26 feet that comes out into the thing, and he's willing to donate or deed that to the city. But the only way that that would be right is that would put the property of the city quite close to his house, and where it's basically going to be at the end of the pecan, we would have to have something written in there where the city's not going to come in and tear all of his rocks out and destroy his whole front yard. But the legal end of it with the property would be for the city street. And then there would be just the two of them on that joint access.
So from the planning commission side, I think that stuff would probably have to be done for us to say or recommend for that.
We're trying to get us some recommendations or some fields here, because we would separate all of the sewer, the water, the power, the gas, all that would be separate into each one. Each lot would have their own, each meters and everything else.
The only issue that we see is it doesn't have access. It doesn't have frontage, right? It doesn't have 80 feet of frontage.
But yeah,
We got that deeded and worked out, and it almost looks like to me that if you worked with, I can't remember his name.
I can't hear you, Joey.
Just took that road and shifted it a little bit further south and maybe get it away from his house a little bit anyway. Because that, even if they, in the future, if they go and put that road in.
Yeah, the road, if you know what's off the bank, that old CCC water thing, I don't think a road will ever go off there from the city, I don't think.
Off Pecan?
Yeah.
No, because years
I mean,
ago,
even just to make it wider here, to give this access instead of getting so close to this house, is just make it shift over 10 feet to the south and, come down. or
Does he
something.
own the properties south of that? No, that's.
No, that's Goodrich. No, it's not Goodrich.
that property and deal with the park somehow got abandoned as soon as you hit Jay Maxwell's property. There's no more road, no more dedicated road.
It started out, the city wanted to have on Center Street, they wanted the access to go down to the park. So Jay traded that, because it used to go through, and they traded it to where it went back to him for the trade for the park road. Yeah, but now they're wanting to,
On the council and that got
But
abandoned.
even if it is abandoned, they're willing to.
we're willing to deed it back so we can have that access there. But they would basically use what's there now, but the deeds would show that the city owns it there. And I don't see where anybody would,
When Bo put his house in there, did we extend the water main down to the end of?
I think Jay, didn't you put the water line down, or was that Bo? Down there for that fire hydrant, is that what you mean there?
No, so I know it comes down to the fire hydrant, but then beyond that fire hydrant, because we kind of need to extend the water main down there so that we can put water meters. If we're gonna do.
We're gonna put the water meters probably right there at the, where it,
Where all the other ones are now.
no, right down here lower,
So Jay's saying.
right in that area.
Jay's saying yes, and you're saying no.
What do you mean, yes
He
or
said
no?
yes, we're gonna put them right where the other ones are.
You want to put them right here between these two
The
lots?
only reason I'm saying what I'm saying is that, I think you were saying you wanted to have them or down closer to your property.
Yeah, to the lease.
Corner. Yeah, exactly.
Not right there. It would be up where, because he owned right in that area along that.
You gotta split this water meter off also, right?
That's right. All that will be back to their own meters and where Lance wants it.
It would move from
Fire,
existing
fire,
meter
can't get fire and get them out.
down. plus
There's 3 homes in there.
Then you would need a easement across hers.
Yep, all the easements and all that stuff would have to be addressed.
So I think that would probably need to be worked out and deeded before we can actually take, like, make the
If that's-
solid
if there's a
recommendation.
change, if that's substantial change to what was submitted.
Did you ever make a wide enough for fire?
I guess probably what we need to do at this point is, if you guys want to make a motion one way or the other, I'm not gonna guide you there. But, if we came back with a better plan that shows deeded right away.
They need to do that first.
Like that, then we could serve those 2 homes based on the private driveways. Like no more than 2 houses on a private driveway. So that could possibly work.
So then all we would have to do is come back and go to staff and not go to all the others?
You would need to, we would still have to go through the lot line adjustment.
A lot line.
If that's what she still wants to do, because that's what stemmed all of this, so she wanted to do a lot line adjustment and put utilities to that house separate from the ones that.
And we could address the lot line adjustment on her T section there, plus this other one, and basically the same thing.
We could do it at the same time, right? So we the lot line adjustment. I'd have to look at code, but I don't know if it goes to city council or not. But, I don't believe there's any public hearings there, it's just, approval.
It's simple one. I think it does say it just goes for approval.
Now, improvements of that road, I don't know how city council can come out on that. Because it is what it is right now. Some people have asked, from what I understand, in the last 4 years, or 5, 6 years, 5, 10 years, that somebody wanted curb gun and sidewalk and asphalt put down there. And I don't know for sure if that'll do it, but that's what I heard from some of the city council. That was proposed. If that's still on the table. Right.
If,
I don't know.
I do, I have one just quick question. If, so we're looking at doing a lot line as opposed to a simple subdivision. Is that the route we're?
Yeah, because you would not be creating another parcel.
Right, so does that, if we did do that, would that require a need for fire turnaround as well at the end of that road? And I know simple subdivision requires 150 feet, you have to have a turnaround. This is 500 feet.
So when we
So
conceptually came to the JUC, the fire department would require like 300 fire for the fire.
a cul-de-sac or a hammer
The
or something.
existing fire hydrants there, I don't know how close it is to Jay's, where Jay is living right now, do we know by chance? How close that is? They would have to, well, they would have to meet all the requirements of whatever the fire code is. That's what they, and.
So access is 25, close to 26, but we'd have to have 26 and then possibly that.
We can address that. That's a very good
And
statement.
you know what, I think for tonight, really, if, it sounds like if they go back and do the deed work on the property and then actually make the application for the lot line adjustment, there's a clear path forward, right? So we don't really have an application in front of us, we're just kind of conversing about it.
I'm fine with that. The direction you're giving me is
And as far as
valuable.
the water works and all that, that's gonna come, it's not us anyway, right? They're gonna- If we need to go through that,
Where the water,
yeah.
where that water line ends, because we're running lateral clear from the top anyway, this viewpoint. The whole reason is trying to get the water on the water, you know, we're going to get short lateral for their houses. I don't know if that.
With some of those water lines.
You still got a long lateral line, that's what I'm saying. There's no difference in the lateral length if we don't have a water.
And then, Jay,
You want to say anything?
I just verify that, we could work that out with planning staff.
Yeah, that'd be staff and Lance and them go determine that if they, yeah.
Do you want to say anything else?
So if Gene doesn't want anybody touching his property, then how are we gonna get a road wide enough for the fire to go down there?
You can come down what's there. Leave it at.
It's 25 and
Well, they're
A
gonna make it,
quarter or
they're still gonna keep
three-quarter.
it a private drive, so they have, I think what the big thing is gonna be is they don't have 50 feet down to where the private drive starts, right? So you can only have 2 on the private drive. The private drive actually, the way it looks on the map, starts on the other side of Gene Wilder. So now you have 3 homes on a private drive. So what you guys are probably gonna have to work out is how to make that easement in front of Gene Wilder's and the easement in front of the proposed lot change here. And once you guys figure that out, then it meets the criteria for us.
This will with just the 25 for that.
I think
20,
it's 50,
20,
it's 50
so
feet
that's
access. It's a 50 feet
I can get
access.
with him and find out what
Yeah.
is needed and we'll just.
Yeah.
So if it's private, it's 26.
And so once you get the 50 feet access down to that lot, then you can do 2 lots on the private lane and it covers all that.
So when Bo Drury built the house to the south side of the road there, Gene deeded 100-foot strip by 25-foot through the city, so that's why you see.
No, Jay did, right?
Or Jay.
Yeah, Jay.
Sorry. But Jay gave that to the city at that point, which made it so that now there's 3 off of that. Technically, but it's not really a 50-foot way.
It would be dedicated to the city, but
Ty's been working on that, and I know that Gene's been in here asking for pavement without curb and gutter, but the city's not willing.
He's selling,
And the city's not willing to pay for the pavement unless the curb and gutters are there. So, yeah, whatever they're working on is something different, so.
He's been working
Yeah, he's been working on
on it. He's done working on it.
Oh, he's done?
Yeah, he's moved.
Reagan,
I hope to move.
I mean, we don't, if you're gonna actually make it, if you're gonna come back and do that, then we don't need to make a recommendation, right? We can just, they can refile and then make the application for
That all
the,
has to go staff.
well, you need to make an application, you need to put a formal application in for a lot line adjustment and then get that stuff worked out and then we can,
Formal paperwork and easements and what we do.
Yeah, just looking at.
Legal description.
How to get the conversation, would make a motion to table or definitely,
You would or wouldn't?
I would.
You would.
I would just table it.
Even if we didn't have to come back then.
Does that call for anything on the,
yeah, just let it die. Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
you still have to come back to planning commission, wouldn't
Yeah,
you?
there's not really a formal application in
Yeah,
front
he's
of us.
gonna
It's
have to
more of a
put formal
conversation and
Because it's a lot line
try to
adjustment.
figure a path forward. So, yeah.
So just
Thanks,
for
guys.
my clarification,
Oh, they'll have to do that
Yeah.
first. Okay, so that will take us to,
Did we make a motion?
no, we don't need to.
nothing, we don't have an application in front of us.
That'll take us to item number 2 on the business item of discussion on final plat for Parkside at Desert Mountain Phase 2 subdivision submitted by the Wall Family Rentals LLC. Looking for a recommendation for the city council. And it looks like, if I look at this information, there's only a couple things that I think that are missing, and it's just all the stuff at the end, like there's the agreement to pay for the Washington County water. The Mylar signature, which will happen later, right? I mean, all of them are gonna happen.
Correct. Yeah. So basically your approval, if you look at the approval process there, there's a checklist. Everything on the top of the checklist has been met. The bottom of that checklist is, let's see, I can't remember what one that is. What, let's see, engineers review, is it staff checklist right there. If maybe you could pull that up. It's the staff's checklist for final plat. So they have that. So you can see there at the top, the final plat checklist, everything has been done. This, and before they go to the attorney's office, they will have to have the other things. And we're working through with the client on that. Those other things. So, because basically we have they have to pay the Washington County Water Conservancy District, whatever their fees are, habitat fee, and everything's changing a little bit right now, as Troy was talking about here. So infrastructure has to be completed. Obviously, we're not going to record that plat until all of the utility companies and all of the engineer and city engineer has said, yep, this is a complete improved subdivision. So what you're approving is the actual approval. It's kind of a house cleaning type of thing. And really, you should have approved this probably a year ago, not before construction started necessarily, but soon after, if not before construction started.
Wall, an engineered wall or something like that, has that all been taken care of?
That has all been, we had design for that. We actually have a couple different designs, and one of the requirements before they can record the Mylar is that they have to have, we have to have all of the compaction tests of the trenches, those walls that certifies that the walls were installed correctly with GeoGrid and different things such as that. So that way, if a wall does fail, we have an engineer that certified.
Does anybody have any questions on it? Or?
So you're asking us to prove it without it being finished? Mylar speaking.
So, yeah, basically the Mylar is finished. Mylar is the city engineer approved. He says, I'm ready to sign off on the Mylar. We're good for that portion of it. So all has to finish up is the house. And in every city I've ever worked for, this is pretty standard procedure. Basically, they don't have to have everything paid for, to make sure that they have that. You're approving that. It is a budget, as you see, we're close to this attorney's office. Those are things that, well, it's we have to approve. Yeah, so we are asking for approval and recommendation.
Did you see the email I sent you about, on the city engineer review, there was a recommendation that they might need to vacate one of the lots because there's a 30-foot wide water line easement along the east side, but I wasn't involved before, but is that a new thing or something already changed or?
It's a water
The
line.
it still meets the minimum requirements for the
Yeah.
R120.
That was for phase one. That was for phase one.
Okay, never mind. I'm just reading all the documents.
Yeah. I put them in there so you guys have that.
Yeah, I was reading through as a final plat
So for
review.
development agreement on this, we do not need a development
Okay.
agreement because we are not receiving any type of parts.
Okay.
Anything like that. There is an actual drainage pond that the city is going to acquire, but that's going to be done through the deed from the regular property deed of the city. So if you look, if you mind, maybe pulling up the actual final plat there. See if this is the front smile button out. So if you look at that, on the right side, you can zoom in and out to the lower part of that right side. Or I'm sorry, the front side. Old Church Road, so you see that part of the boundary doesn't include that parcel there. It really is boundaries of the property for the applicant. And it actually turned out to be a detention pond.
got the plat for you. It's a formality in essence. Look at the code. Code actually, with recommendation, but that code references that you might have to do one of those.
Does anybody else have any questions? I'll look for recommendation.
I recommend approval on final plat for Parkside and Desert Mountain Phase 2 subdivision.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. We'll vote.
Aye.
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 Okay, that'll take us to business item number 3, discussion on ordinance 2022 XX, amending the city's official zoning map to designate Firelight subject property as having MPDO zoning submitted by Sun River Firelight. This is something that should have been done, I think, with the last approval on the final, or maybe even before that. Something that we missed, something that's just kind of a cleanup procedure that we need to follow. I only have one question though. This only is applied to the subject property. So as you guys acquire the property, then it's only the MPD overlay, like, just adds every time? Is that, so every time you acquire property, are we gonna have to go through this? No, it just automatically, or is that, it's gonna automatically do that? Okay. We'll just flip, yeah, okay. Does anybody have any questions? I just wondered if anybody else had any questions before.
This is what we missed for 2 months in a row.
Yeah, exactly. That was on at one point. Okay, so at this time, I'll open up a public hearing for the ordinance on the zoning map to designate Firelight subject property as having MPDO zoning. If anybody would like to speak on this, please come to the microphone. State your name and address. Okay. I would take look for a motion to close the public hearing.
I motion that we close the public hearing on ordinance number 2022.XX, amending the city's official zoning map. Firelight.
Motion.
I'll second the motion.
Second, we'll vote.
Aye.
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 Okay, since that was so easy, I'd look for a recommendation.
I recommend that we pass it on to the city council for approval.
I second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Take a vote.
Aye.
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 Okay, discussion, or number 4, discussion on a new nightly rental ordinance 2022 XX establishing conditions for commercial zones. Public hearing. We have a public hearing. I know we don't have a lot of information in the packet for this.
So just so you realize why I did not put a fast recommendation to me, because the attorneys have their recommendations to you guys.
And I want to, and anybody can correct me if I'm correct with this, but the way that this nightly rental ordinance came about is that between conflict counsel and our city attorney, it was stated that let's see, how do I put that correctly? Permitted uses was not allowed inside of the MPDO for the MPDO to overbear the nightly rental ordinance. So as it sits right now, our nightly rental ordinance stands, and the only thing that they can do is their 10. I think it's 10. I think they upped that to 10. So Firelight can now do 10 model homes inside of their adult active community. So this ordinance was brought forth saying they want to do more nightly rentals inside of that area. And also what the nightly rental ordinance will do is it'll create a permitted use inside of the commercial districts. So it's not only amending our nightly rental code, it is amending our permitted uses inside of the commercial zones. So, any questions on it?
A lot of questions.
I actually do have one just about the statement you made. The way I understood it was it's not affecting the residential areas within that MPDO, only the commercial areas in that MPDO. So it had to be a commercial.
Commercial zones only in section 12.
Right, okay.
So that wouldn't be an extension of their model home rentals,
It wouldn't. no.
right? That's what,
Right, it still falls underneath
these are like,
our code except for what we kind of carved out for their model homes. Is what I-
it sounded more like a little, next to like River Rock where they have the individual units.
30
They
up
want
to
they want to be able to
200.
do those in commercial zones, like individual units. Okay.
And when you adopt an ordinance, it's not just for fire land, it's going to be for every.
Yeah, yeah, so this ordinance will be affected and,
The only one, I'm sorry, the only one thing I saw here was talking about along fire lines. So it specifically talked about in the ordinance, something along fire.
So wasn't there in the ordinance that it has to be on the highway? So it could be anywhere along the highway that somebody or anyone could do this then?
Yeah, it was tied specifically to Porterville Parkway. So it would not apply to SR 17.
It's accessible by Porterville Parkway, so they could cut down
let's move
Porterville Parkway
forward.
over.
Hold on,
But it
let's,
doesn't say-
hold on, let's stay for the public hearing now. My concern is, the city, as long as I've been part of the city, coming to the city meetings, coming to anything to do with this, the city offices, and the nightly rental ordinance has been at the forefront of the whole, for the last probably 6 years, maybe even longer. They've been working on our nightly rental ordinance. And the whole thing that the city has been doing, and I've had many of these conversations with Scott, the applicant, is they've been trying to protect the residential community and how Tokerville interacts on the nightly rentals. We've had a lot of conversations about the nightly rental, hence why we made the amendment to change it to 10 in their model homes and make some variances. We know we've had some issues with commercial uses. This goes completely against what has been brought to the city for, and what the city's been trying to build in that nightly rental code the whole time. This is just my opinion. And another thing that's kind of weird is that, well, not weird, never mind, I would drop that portion, but that's my big concern is that, this is it's gonna change the nightly rental feel in the town. One of the reasons that we've always pushed these motels and hotels in our city. That's just what I feel about it, the whole time it's always been, that nightly rental has been to protect all that and make it a small town feel and change that and not have that resort feel in the nightly rentals and not have more than, people having more than two and turning it into Laverne and sections of that. So that's my feelings on it. Doesn't mean anything.
Well, that's how I feel as well. Another thing that I look at is we're already changing the number of homes we're going to have in Tokerville up to possibly 4,300 plus or somewhere in that range. We have no amenities for any of those people coming in. We don't have grocery stores, gas stations, medical, any of that. To say that we're going to say now in those commercial zones, which I believe should be used for commercial purpose to support our town, we're going to allow more dwelling units, and that just doesn't quite fit Tokerville to me. We are already growing immensely. We've got to have the infrastructure to support that. I don't believe that nightly rentals does that for us.
I think it's going to be kind of a nightly rental or a motel.
Well, and I think a motel is something that's,
Yeah,
we're talking 200 dwelling units, and it could be homes all over. We don't know what it's going to be.
I just want you to know that if they build a hotel out there and they put 200 units in it, those 200 units come off of the total
Right, but we're talking about, and we do have the ability to have hotels and motels in those areas. We're talking about individual dwelling units. To me, that means homes.
Those might not even come off of the-
Right, I get that.
So it's not gonna have
No, I understand that.
4,700 plus 100 or 200.
I get that. I just think when we talk about even 4,300, and no matter how they come, we still have to have the facilities to handle those people, which is the basic needs, service.
So that some of the big points that have been brought up is that, this is something that's way out on the parkway. It's not even downtown. It's not even close to it. But to me, it's all Tocqueville, like it's all the same thing. And the other part that I look at is looking at a hotel compared to a nightly rental community. Is a hotel is something that someone comes, they'll stay the night. Yeah, they might stay at the pool. They're going to maybe they'll probably go to Zion, they'll go hiking, they're going to do something, come back, eat dinner. These communities to me are more like the resort area. So this is a come and staycation area. It's completely opposite of a motel to me. And it's just, like I said, it's just my opinion, but that's how I feel about that. But does anybody else have any comments?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I do. I've read this over and over and over and over. And this is, in my opinion, too all-encompassing. And I'm going to point it out. In section 3, if you read section 3, this is just 3 alone, they're wanting to put 1012-A5, 1012B5, and 1012B5 and make them all a permitted use.
That's exactly what I said that.
And tattoo parlors and taverns, there's no way in this town we want something like that without having conditions on it. You're trying to move things, and as far as 200 dwellings per nightly unit development, that's per development. I got to ask you, how many developments can there be out there? 10, 15, 20 developments? Say there's, let's go in the middle, say you've got 10 different developments. That's 2,000 nightly rentals in homes out there. Just if they do that, it wasn't the dream. It wasn't the reality that Tocqueville created over these years for that nightly rental. It's not going to become Tocqueville anymore. It's a whole different community, and I believe that community needs to live underneath the laws of Tocqueville, the ordinances that we created. In traffic, this is a student. I'm gonna read this. Primary access to nightly rental developments directly from Tocqueville Parkway. Yes, it's obvious you have to get on the parkway to get there, but they cannot make people get on that parkway. And when you come to vacate, a vacation rental, you want to vacate. You want to go around, you want to look at stuff. You want to come into this town and see how pretty it is. And that's what they're going to be doing. I wouldn't want to just jump on the expressway to go to Zion here. I want to tour around and look at the small pretty communities. You're going to have hundreds of people in side-by-sides coming right through town to go to Tocqueville Falls with that many nightly rentals. So if you think this is a soothing paragraph, it's not. It's reality what's going to happen. And they're welcome to come in because this town is one of the beautiful towns there is. And that's why we are working so hard to keep it that feel. And in my opinion, I don't want a big development out there that's a separate city. It's Tocqueville. I think we should comply within our, and there's there's so many things I come up with here that I'm concerned about, and I'm poking holes in this. I don't like a repealer that supersedes an ordinance and gives a sole carte blanche ordinance to a whole different entity out of Tocqueville. It's not who we are. We need to govern it, manage it, and make sure it doesn't get out of hand. I went with an easy number of 2,000 units, each development. And how many more developments besides Firelight will there be up the line? So if we went with this, every development out there is entitled to 200. So you're going to have developments of just vacation rental developments with people that don't live in them. And there's no way to control how long they'll stay because it supersedes 1017-3. So are they staying longer than 20 days? So their transient tax thing is out the door. There's no benefit for destroying our way of life. That's the way I feel.
I think that one of the things that we've done in Tokerville with our nightly rentals, and that to try to keep it a local thing and not get crazy, and that is to require that they live here in town, and you can only have a maximum of 2. Doing this completely is just in the face of all of that, and we're taking developers or people or entities from all over the place that don't have to live here that can have one of those. So I just feel like it doesn't fit our town.
We agree.
Yeah.
Does the applicant have any comments?
Well, this is basically a hotel with a different business model. It will have a full-time on-site manager. We tried to keep it focused over on the parkway so it wouldn't affect, the existing part of town. But we do think it'll be largely operated and function and affect. The business model is just distributed. The ordinance already states some of the requirements that handle a lot of the problems of the resort and other communities.
I had one other question, and it might even be in here, I can't remember, I read it a few times, but can there be individual owners inside of this? It has to all be owned by one person? Can each house be individually owned by somebody else?
That's my understanding.
One management.
But managed by one company, and they all have a system. They're not allowed to do their own.
That would be a home. So we're not talking just a motel here, we're talking homes.
Yeah, but
On the
but
drive
Dixie
home,
Springs has that too, and they have lots of homes that are just rented out.
Well, that's another thing is we don't have the housing to, the affordable housing. So once you start Airbnb out every home you have, you've lost your homes for the people that actually live there.
I really like your point that about just commercially, the footprint of something like this is a lot bigger than a hotel. A hotel is whatever it is and up versus
You're a little-
200
you're a little,
units and out.
If you're a little curious about that, get on the Dixie Springs Facebook page. And that explains it all. What,
There are 4 stories out there, but this is a self-contained resort that's been monitored.
Right, that's what so it is a resort. So I think that's kind of says it right there.
but it's houses. But it's houses. It's how many houses will be in a development? So it's 200 houses in development, so it's a house. It's not a motel, it's a house.
And on commercial land.
And you're absolutely right. There will be people with, and I own a razor, and we love razoring around and stuff, but everyone loves Tokerville Falls. And they're gonna be going, wow, we can rent a house in Tokerville? And we can go right up to Tokerville Falls? I mean, I'm sorry, it's
mean,
gonna be a nightmare.
Tokerville's a beautiful place. I do the same thing when I go somewhere. I stay off the beaten path and I want to see all these small towns.
No, but we.
And then I wonder if I'm welcome, It's just, but I think it's
There's already so
overwhelming.
much growth coming in. I mean, with all the development that is, like, throw that on top of it. I mean, we're already collecting from ourselves.
Oh, there is,
There's a
but
problem.
I don't know if we,
We need a public hearing.
But residents-
But residents are one thing, but
residents don't go up there every day.
And
No.
residents have a lot more respect for the property that they're using versus visitors.
Are commissioners ready to open a public hearing?
Yeah, there's one more thing I didn't like in this last one. It's that they have carte blanche authority over their management agreement. They also have carte blanche over the city or law enforcement personnel for immediate upon request. I mean, I'm not doing that.
That's referring to whoever the manager is. Saying that whoever they're, so
They're gonna-
what they're saying is there's gonna be between 30 and 200 of these, all individually owned, right? One project manager. What this is saying is that one project manager has carte blanche over all of those.
He also has carte blanche that.
To allow,
Carte blanche is.
that's, It's to allow law enforcement to go in.
It's like, if you have one of those homeowners that says, no, the cops can't come in, the project manager, whoever's managing this project, can actually say, oh, yeah, they can. That's what we're saying.
Which-
Anybody who owns one of those units
Which was a big
has to-
argument about motels and law
Right.
enforcement and policing this thing, is that
Yeah.
in a motel, the manager or the front desk person can give them.
That's actually a structure that's giving the management company the power to manage this.
What they're saying is that the project, whoever the property manager is, has carte blanche over anybody in it. That they agree with their staying there, there's one manager, it doesn't matter who owns it, they have those.
But they're not law enforcement, but
It's saying they can
But
get,
you
they can
allow
give,
law enforcement to come in. The only
You're
other thing
allowed.
I would say that is just for clarification, and I understand what all of you are saying, but I do want to just clarify this real quickly, just because I've heard it said twice. I've heard it said that anybody who has commercial can put this in, and that is not accurate, and that needs to be super clear. I understand motion, I understand behind it, but you do need to pay attention to the fact that indeed, that this is just simply because of the way it reads and this technicality. What I'm saying is, it is not everybody who owns commercial property would be able to do this. You have to install at least 2 or more of these. If you go to B, it says you have to install at least 2 or more of these to be able to do this. So as you consider that, yes, this would be 200 units, you also need to consider that there would be 2 or more of the following amenities going with this.
yeah, but that's an exercise room and a game room.
Well, that's what I'm saying, so there's an exercise room where there could be a game room and stuff. I'm just, what I'm saying is, you need to understand that what you're discussing is not just units, you're also discussing amenities. So I just need to
The
make that
attraction
clear.
to the
There's
nightly
lots of,
rental.
yeah, there's lots of these guidelines that give it the facilities they need, so that people are going to go be trucking all day, and then come back and test something.
But I just wanted to, but, and I'm just saying, just for clarification, so that we don't have to read, that we can understand that what you're being asked about is not just 200 units, like the 200 units, you're also being asked to provide 2 or more of these amenities to accompany the nightly rental. So there's that, but also at the same time, that excludes a lot of developers who aren't doing the amenities. So I'm just saying, like, regardless of which way you're going with it, I'm just saying, keep in mind that it includes amenities, not just.
And again, I'd like to stress, it's going to focus on my
Yeah, I still,
What kind of footprint does 200 homes have? That's a huge
doesn't.
footprint, though.
yeah, but my feeling on that is, competition's out there. If this works, or if this was happening and it worked, everybody will do it all the way clear to the freeway because it works. They'll do the same exact plan. They'll have a resort. They'll have their swimming pools because they're making money. We're going to make money. Let's keep I'm sorry, but
and it's at the expense of the people who live here.
It
That's
is. It just,
And what about the people who live in your 55 and older community? I mean, you have amenities like that down in Sun River, right?
We built our hotel down there, it's extremely popular, that's where all the
which I think is a great idea, hotel.
and, well, like, we kept it to a hotel as well, right? And I think that also helps, takes care of the whole family instead of maybe a single room. They're different products, I think, out there, and, there's a whole bunch of very successful ones. And they're just full of families that are like, around. It's not super competitive.
But this time, I think we should open up the public hearing for nightly rental ordinance 2022.XX, establishing conditions for commercial zones. If anybody would like to address the commission, please limit your comments to 3 minutes. State your name and address. Is the microphone not working?
Sandy Corolla, 275 North Portugal Boulevard. I would like to address the management portion that is being proposed. San Paulo Resort Community has a management company, And the owners of those rentals, those nightly rentals out there are livid. They're not happy with the management company. They take 40% of their profits on top of the investment in high HOA fees that they have out there. There's been homeowners that have sued the management company and have won, one homeowner currently, and have won so that they don't have to use that management company because they take so much of their profits. So this can be very bad for the owners of those nightly rentals. They need to be able to shop around and they need to be able to get management companies that meet their needs. So that's to address that. I am so grateful, sorry, that you guys feel the same way I do. There's a lot of nightly rental owners in this community that it will impact negatively. I've spoken to several who have fought to have the nightly rentals where they're at now and are happy with them. Sorry. We must not mince words. Nightly rentals are not motels. And we also need to make sure that it is understood that Tocqueville does have a very unique and wonderful system in right now. The fact that residents own the nightly rentals needs to stand. It needs to stand. I believe this proposal is premature. We do need a tax base founded on amenities, businesses, rather than on vacations. And that's where I would like to end my comments.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, I'll, for a motion to close the public hearing.
My motion to close the public hearing.
Motion for a second. Take a vote.
Aye.
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 You guys want to have any more discussion, or you want to make a recommendation?
I just, like I say, I've read it in and out. I just don't understand some of the actions in this document.
I'm ready to make a motion, and that is to deny, I don't know if it's a denial of the ordinance. What do I call this ordinance? Oops. The nightly rental ordinance 2022, establishing conditions for commercial zones. I recommend denial.
I would second that.
We have a motion and a second. We'll take a vote.
Aye.
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 Okay, that takes us to business item number 5, discussion on preliminary site plan for the Firelight Community Center submitted by Sun River Firelight. Has everybody had a chance to review this?
Yeah.
Let's just go down Darren's comments here if I can get to it. I have one question, or I have a couple of questions on this one. So we have the community center type thing, and then we have another plat map that shows a landscaping plan that's part of a different portion of it. So in our package, we have, I don't know if you can pull that up, the next, keep going. I think it's, I'm almost there. It's number 11. You can go to number 11 in the Dropbox there. So it shows, it's going to come up right there. So it shows all the landscaping plan for a different community.
That's phase 1 and 2, Sun River Firelight. So the community center is directly below.
Yeah, so are we, so that shouldn't be in this plan.
But it's
That doesn't
similar
where
reference.
it is.
Just reference, so this is only for reference where it is. It's nothing to
So
do
when you
with,
see at the top where it says Trailhead Drive,
Yep.
when you get back to that site plan, you'll see Trailhead Drive at the bottom.
the next question I had is on, I think on the north side of that, if I got my directions right. Does that north side abut a park? Because there's a park really close to that area within the next block or two.
There's still quite a bit of acreage before you get down. Yeah, so we're not at the adjacent park.
The adjacent part, yeah, that's what I was looking at. It's so hard to tell because it's,
And they're not there.
I couldn't zoom in on the paper.
On the, we have a planning map for Fireway. I can show you where that parcel is.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at, is the conceptual plan on that thing. And I was just trying to figure out how far of distance it was in between that, because I know that's one of the triggers for the next amenities to pop up. Aaron, do you have any comments that you want to?
Sort of on a plan, my, I just got them through the plat and also the code. One of the requirements that they have to code, they met. Some of the things that we need to go through and change, so basically ask for it. But I kind of was trying to get there, it's a lot of work to do. It's a process, it's probably 6 to 8 months if I was to do this 100% of the time. By that, we would, the application. The application,
Yeah, there's so much extra stuff in the commercial site plan application that doesn't need to be there at that time.
It gets simpler.
Yeah, it needs to be.
It asks for the security, state registration. Yeah, so the things we want to be able to file. But,
This is just preliminary.
yes, this is just preliminary. This is not, but they've got a couple maps, and then they've also got the map for, if you scroll down, it has the, maybe it's anyway, it's the utility map, things like that, that you ask for, which makes sense. So we can see where it really comes from. And then this morning, just so you guys know, timeframes of meetings, we didn't have our JUC until this morning. I actually, in the folder there, I believe it's in the folder. I forget exactly on this JUC meeting this morning. So I did the PDF and show the dates in informal. I did put it in yesterday and the other day, so it's consistent. But I apologize. Anyway, so basically, not the staff review, it's the JUC meeting. It's actually titled JUC meeting tonight. That's the day. What happened this morning, basically you can see their comments at the joint utility committee meeting. Might be easier for you to read it there in the back. Everybody just had, the questions are, essentially there's no utilities there at this point. The biggest one for the fire district, they had a comment of the parking lot connectivity to the road on top of the Union Drive for fire protection as well. And I don't think you guys have any issues. Just look at the platinum of the preliminary platinum. See on the left side of there, there's a road there that's not named, that will be named with the phase 3 when it comes in. You see the entrance right there through that off parking. If you scroll down just a little bit, maybe the one very north end, the fire district wanted to see something there, whether it's an emergency access or access on that street. We kind of want to be careful access wise, because we don't want a whole bunch of parking accesses within 200 feet of each other, so we have to be careful with that. I don't want to discuss that. Yeah, and because it's too close to the intersection, and there's no building there. So that was just a comment on that. Rocky Mountain Power had questions, just when they thought of going in, they wanted to get this and things to talk about this stuff. So everybody's very aware of where it's at, things like that. Just saying, they had no comment, pretty much no comments, most of them.
That's a total private community, yes.
This is a private amenity and does not account for our density bonuses whatsoever. This is a site plan.
Yeah.
I think it's basically falls under a site plan, not a preliminary site plan, not a preliminary zone.
Commercial
It's a
site.
really nice center.
So
The,
it should be very much like the suburb.
Yeah.
the, so one of the things it says the intended use of each building, so building 2 and 3, are they just? That's what it says that, so for the commercial site plan, it wants the intended use for each structure.
It'll be like fast roads and all different space. Keep your square units, your surrounding classes.
So this whole thing is not is the private firelight.
And it was not part of the NPO.
Right.
At all. We have all sorts of parks and trails. And
Right.
open space that are very clearly labeled in that.
And this is not the city center. The city center is going to be commercial, which is going to be,
This is in the heart of the active development. area.
Okay.
It's not the town center.
okay.
Where, for example, we put out a
This is the first time I've actually seen a commercial site plan that meets all the design standards in our commercial design standards, actually.
We were down, the engineer, their engineer, went down the code.
First time. Yeah.
And I must thank Wayne because it made me realize I need to make sure that everything's on there and that this engineer putting everything on there, whether it makes sense or not.
Okay,
But
wait.
it's
That way we
right.
got an Olsen Drive though, somewhere.
Watch that.
It's gonna be over by the cemetery.
Yeah.
It's gonna be-
You have a good vicinity map on this?
Yeah. The very top, or top left.
Whereabouts is this gonna be?
So, I wish we had a map of. Yeah, we just don't have the entire. Yeah, so.
It's pretty much,
You see where that rectangle is?
that's the
right?
pond.
Right there, that's the pond parcel.
Like, how close to the racetrack area?
It's over the
So it's
hill.
down below the development.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought it was.
It's actually right on the side.
It's north of the racetrack.
Yeah.
Yeah. North of the
On the
racetrack.
hill, but on.
It's directly west of the pond, about 1 mile.
Below.
And that's in the lower.
It's at the lower bench.
And did you say this is in the middle of the 55 and active 55? So phase 1 and 2, it's in the middle of,
Phase 1
Yeah.
and 2 are directly south of this,
okay,
and we will build all around.
okay.
What kind of access do you have for the public there, or zero, or is it just 55?
For this facility, it is all people that belong to a Sun River Fire, like the active development. So it's like Sun River, it's a private facility. We are going to do some other facilities, of course. But this is our bread and butter, interactive development that gets us off the ground.
Does anybody else have any other questions, comments? No? I'd look for a motion.
Is that to close the public hearing?
There's no public hearing. Yeah, this-
So with this one, for a preliminary site plan, our code does not require a preliminary plat, which is, they're again one of those things that I go, I looked all over the place, I looked, I asked Keith about it, I asked a few people, Mike Birchmack, who used to be the design director, he said, yeah, I don't.
Okay.
File one for that. And state code right now does not require a public hearing for the various site plan or the very, plat. So we're higher than what.
Then-
But it does require a motion from us.
It does. You guys have to give a recommendation to.
So you can,
I'll make a motion. I recommend approval of the preliminary site plan Firelight Community Center with ensuring that all the JUC
Staff
requirements and
staff
staff
recommendation.
recommendations, thank you, are met.
okay, we have a motion.
I second it.
Motion in a second, we'll vote.
I
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, that takes us to the end of the meeting. We'll adjourn the meeting at 7:11.